Hey guys, welcome to Sledgehammer Games. I'm Michael Condrey and this is Glen Schofield, founders of the studio. Glad to be talking to CBS.
Or a computer-built spieler.
No, it's a great question, and I think we're really honoring the sacrifice and the humanity of the war, and we know that it was common men on both sides that fought for their cause, which is separate from some of the atrocities committed by the Nazis. So,
yeah, I mean, we in interviewing people along the way, what we've heard a lot from, say, the German community was that the Germans and Nazis weren't one and the same, and that hey, I was a German, and I'm proud of what I did in the war, but the Nazis were different, and so we tried to make that distinction.
I feel really lucky, and I know Glen does too, right? We had an incredible opportunity to do Modern Warfare as our first Call of Duty game, and then to do Advanced Warfare, a near future game, and now to take it back to its roots, to take Call of Duty back to where it all began. So every opportunity gives us a new chance to tell a story in a new time period and innovate in new ways. That's been really great. Yeah, and it means you have to start building your assets from scratch each time too. So while it's a little harder, I think we're pretty lucky.
Yeah, for us, I think also it's a creative challenge and a completely different one. Everybody's like, well, it's making a video game. But no, Advanced Warfare was about seeking and trying to find stuff that would be out there in the future and that seemed realistic, and that's what we tried to do. This one is everything has been done. The research, the creative problem is completely different, and being different is a challenge. And so that all of us, we like that challenge. So that's been really nice. Yes, I do feel lucky that we've been able to make the modern, the future, and now the past.
And this one to me is the most personal one we've made. Right? It's grounded in a true cause, in an inflection point in human history, that makes this the most personal Call of Duty story we've told.
Well, as we've said quite a bit, is that generation is now dying. I think 500 people a day or something, some crazy number are dying from that generation. And many of us, most of us, if not all of us, were touched by it in some way. My grandfather fought in it. My dad talked about it. My grandmother was from Alsace-Lorraine. My grandmother on the other side, they were German, right? And there's my grandfather was English, fighting for the Americans. So it's just, this is, it is such a personal war, such a different kind of story that we're telling. But we're all touched by it, I think, in one way or another, and feel the respect that we have to tell the story the correct way. We're 17, 18, 19-year-old, guys running around with a 40, 50-pound pack and a heavy gun in freezing cold weather or in mud or in rain. I mean, my gosh, what they had to put up with is unbelievable.
Yeah, the Call of Duty is about fun, action. It's action-packed, it's boots on the ground, it's those things that make the franchise great. But as Glen mentioned, it's also about delivering on the believability of the time, right? And so for us, it was a chance to sort of refine the experience and bring it back to its classic action-packed, pace that made Call of Duty great. And that focus has been really fun for the studio. Yeah. The arsenal of weapons, the iconic locations, the big action-packed moments, the quiet moments of the war. The opportunity to showcase the challenges of the Hyrcan Forest and what happened really at the Battle of the Bulge. All those things come together in a way it's a really fun experience for fans. And I think you'll see that the control is there, the gun action is there, the blockbuster moments are there in a way that only Call of Duty can deliver.
Talked with infantrymen and Air Force. But yeah, they're in their 90s now, 94, 95, somewhere, obviously many are gone. But nowadays there's also tons and tons of documentaries. There's so much stuff out there that even people just talking and telling their stories online, right? But I also had the luxury of hearing some of them from my dad, who would tell me stories about, Grandpa, and so even though he was English, he fought for the Americans, but I always heard it from two different spins a little bit. Like he would talk about London being bombed, but Grandpa's fighting in Italy, or fought in Italy. So, I don't know, there's stories that we heard, there's somebody down in, everybody on the team is affected by it. One guy even has photos, that his grandfather took. So, I got a photo of my grandfather getting a medal. My mom sent me not too long ago, because she was working on it. She found this cutout in the New York Times, and it said, people injured this month. And way down at the bottom of the list in Schofield was Bernard Schofield. And so they were listing it, but the list is this long, right? It's giant. And so there's still bits and pieces coming out. Like getting that was something brand new. I just got some medals maybe 2.5 years ago from my grandfather. So once you start asking, you hear all the new stories and you hear even more info.
Yeah, I was going to say that for us, this has been 2.5 years of really digging deep into research, right? Yeah. In a profound way that I think is, more personal than we've ever had before. So Glenn and I have been all over the globe. We've been to the beaches of Normandy all the way through Aachen, right? We've sat at the World War II History Museum in New Orleans, to the National History Museum in Luxembourg. We've talked to veterans, we've read documentaries, we've got a military historian that is curated years and years of materials, and so the personal stories are there, and it's powerful in a way that frankly is unique to this game for us, that you can really hear the true stories, some from people who've passed and some from people who are here still today.
Yeah.
And through that, really, that lens of honor and respect of the conflict, the heroism, the sacrifice, we tell that story because it's fading from modern memory.
The scale of the German tanks and artillery, 10 miles long. So you're at the beginning of it, and it's 10 miles away is the rest of the platoon, the rest of the armored division. You don't see stuff like that, right? Sending up 500 planes, being attacked by another 1,000 planes, and flak in the air. At the same time they didn't drop one precision bomb, they dropped thousands of palm bombs. It was just, the scale of the war is insane, man. It's stuff, we always thought we knew a lot about the war, watched TV and all that, but what we learned on this is just great. That's a really good question. I think that for me the biggest thing was that almost every single country was affected, and like we never hear about Portugal, or we never hear about some of these other places, but Portugal supplied tungsten to the German military, right? And there's like Jersey Island outside there. Well, that was a big place the Nazis went, and I think they just found a bomb unexploded on it a couple of months ago. So for me, I think it's just again the vast scale and sheer amount of this was a global war, unbelievable.
Yeah, and we talk about it as a sort of an inflection point in human history. And I remember the first time that I saw the map of the Axis occupation at its largest, right? And it's
Scary.
Your fans will know, right? It was under Nazi Germany control from the border of Russia all the way to the English Channel, all the way down in North Africa, almost to the Suez Canal, right? And in a moment in human history where maybe a negotiated peace deal had reached some sort of armistice, there would have been a very different human history, right? It would have been very different had that war not changed with the invasion of Normandy and then the pushback. And so I think for me, looking at just what the world looked like at Nazi Germany's strongest point was pretty surprising. It was a big surprise.
Yeah, amazing. And you know, there was a respect between the militaries, and we would see story after story. There's a famous picture of this RAF, the British plane flying back with one wing. It's just barely making it. It's going across the English Channel, and a Messerschmitt followed behind it, and instead of taking him out, he followed him all the way to back to the English Channel and made sure that he got back. He's like, if you can make it from Germany with one wing, I'm going to make sure you get back home. And they met after that, and so there was a lot of respect. You hear the Allies just say, the Germans, they put up unbelievable military, right? Really put up a fight. And the same thing, the Germans on the other side. There was a real respect.
Well, it's really interesting. I mean, there's certainly an appreciation for the retelling of the story through the eyes of respect and honor, right? And being able to retell that story in a way that keeps it in the memories of people today is important. Certainly we see that and we hear that. It's interesting though, because you'll hear time and time again, veterans don't consider themselves heroes. They don't view themselves as heroic. They view themselves as part of a group of heroes that surround them. And so it's often about honoring their fallen comrades and brothers in arms as much as it is about their story, and that's really powerful to see.
Well, I remember one guy, he was 93 and he was a teacher. He's still teaching up in the city. He couldn't stop talking about it. He wanted to talk about it. And you know what's interesting is my uncle was in Vietnam, and he never really talked about Vietnam until I got working on this, and then he wanted to talk about my grandfather, but he also started talking about Vietnam. And what he said is that as he gets older, he wants to talk about it more. He never talked about it at all. And he said to me at one point, he thinks that that's the same way with the vets from World War II, is that talking about it is healing. Well, we had a high-level goal at the very beginning. Was like, wow, wouldn't it be great if we were able to teach people that this should never happen again? And I think that gets a little bit like, well, who are we to say that? But if we were able to bring some more knowledge, some more people to just go, wow, yeah, they call it the Great War, but we don't ever want to see anything that great again. Then maybe we've touched some lives.
Yeah, I'd say the same. I mean, we're storytellers, and this is a profound story. And, throughout the heroism and the atrocities, I hope that people are fundamentally touched by it, and it makes them reflect on the cause, and it makes them reflect on how to make sure that it never happens again.
I remember hearing Spielberg once say that he felt like he had to tell the story of Schindler's List and Saving Private Ryan. They had to tell it for the veterans and his family. And I didn't know what he meant, and I don't think I went into it thinking I have to tell the story. But now that we are telling it, I know exactly what he meant. Yeah, I'm glad we're telling it. I'm glad we're telling it. Like, we're getting it out for some people.
Cool.
Just get more details out.
Awesome. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.